Thanks for downloading another segment from the Best of the Classic Metal Show. The Classic Metal Show is heard live on Saturdays from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern, exclusively at www.theclassicmetalshow.com. And now here's another piece of Classic Metal Show history on the Best of the Classic Metal Show.
The Classic Metal Show.
That's Great White right here on the Classic Metal Show from their Let It Rock release, and that's probably one of my favorite CDs from that band. That's called Hand on the Trigger. And Chris, you've arranged it once again for us to have a mystery guest here on the show.
I have, and I'm very proud of this one because this guy is of great importance to the Classic Metal Show, somebody that we both like a lot.
Is that right? Wow. Well, that's very cool. So, again, I guess I'm going to have to play the guessing game here and try to narrow it down to who I might think it is.
Well, welcome, first of all, mystery guest.
Thank you for having me.
All right, mystery guest, I guess I'm going to have to try to narrow it down, so I guess you can answer my questions with a yes or no answer. Are you a singer?
Only yes or no?
Yeah, yes or no. You don't want to give too much away.
Okay.
All right. Are you a singer?
I try to be, yes.
Is that your main function in a band?
Well,
yes and no.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
I'll help with that one.
Do what now?
I'll help with that one. He has been let me put it this way. He has been a lead singer, and he has also played an instrument.
I think I recognize the voice already.
Oh.
It is none other than John Corabi.
Jesus.
Is that true?
Ding, ding, ding. Tell him what he's won, Bob.
Yeah, I recognized your voice, John. I was just sitting there going through my memory bank thinking, because I've spoken with you on a few occasions personally, and I thought, man, I know this nasally voice. Who is this?
Well, that's good to know that I have a distinguishable voice.
You do have a distinguishable voice, and I just saw you about three weeks ago here in the Chicago area opening up for the Scorpions.
Yes.
And that was a really great show. I was really impressed with the performance of Ratt. And, I've seen Ratt numerous times. I've seen you with various lineups, but now they're obviously in their most current or about the best they're going to get as far as their original lineup goes, and you were a part of that as well. But I guess you're leaving the band now?
Well, actually, unfortunately, that was one of the last shows. I did give the guys my notice, not for any other reason than, to be honest with you, I want to, get behind a microphone again and start doing my thing, and unfortunately the things like I'm starting to get offered shows on my own, and to be honest with you, I work as well with Gibson guitars, so okay. Gibson actually sends me around to a lot of music stores, which, by the way, I will be in the Chicago area again in I think it's next week, the 9th, 10th, and 11th.
Okay.
And what they do is they send me around to music stores. I work for their acoustic guitar division. And I just tell people, give a little history about Gibson and talk about how their guitars are built and why they should, possibly own one. And then I sit and I play a bunch of my material acoustically and just sign records and take pictures and then take off and head to the next store. So between that and my solo career, I've just been so busy that I haven't been home. So I just told Ratt, as much as I don't want to, didn't want to leave the band, I'm just so busy right now. I just can't afford, or I don't have the time to do all these different things. So I had to cut something out.
Right. Well, John, the interesting thing is, over the last however many years it's been that you were in Ratt, we've had the debate numerous times on the show that you personally are far too good of a singer to be satisfied playing rhythm guitar in Ratt. Was that kind of the case at this point, or you just you're just ready to get back out and sing again?
No, it's just weird. I got to be honest with you. Like, you know, when I first hooked up with the band, they had a singer named Jizzy Pearl, who's a Chicago native. And you know what? Jizzy's a great singer. He's a great singer. Steven's back with the band now, and that's the voice. That's the voice of Ratt. You know what I mean? You know, and it's not about being better or greater or anything like that. It's just, you know, I'm different. What I want to do is very different than what, you know, Ratt wants to do, or, you know, so I just want to kind of get back out there, and I've been writing some music and just kind of sitting on it for a while, and to be honest with you, you know, a little bit, you know, from a mental point of view, I didn't know, like, I didn't want to go out there and kind of rehash things that I did 10 years ago and just kind of live on those morals. I wanted to come out and do something new, and you know, so I just think it's time, you know, it's just time for me. There's a lot of people have been coming to me, and with the Motley record and the Scream record that I did, even the Union stuff, and it's oddly enough, I think all that stuff is more popular now than it was when it first came out.
Sure.
And, you know, so I can go out and I can go out and do a bunch of my old material, and I can do new stuff, and I can do acoustic shows and electric shows and, you know, whatever. And it just kind of appeals to me now, where before, you know, I was going through some family things and divorces and breakups, and I, you know, just the music business, I was just a little soured on it for a little bit, you know what I mean? Not the fans, but just, you know, the business. And right. I just had to, you know, it appealed to me to just sit in the background and just kind of do that thing with Ratt. And, you know, I'm hungry. I've always been hungry, but, you know, I've just got myself into the headspace where I want to go out and I want to be a singer, and I want to front my own band and just kind of call my own shots and do my thing. So it's all good.
Well, why do you think it is, John? And I do agree with your point wholeheartedly that, and you know, I can only speak from what we do on our show, which we only play what we call classic metal, which would be anything hard melodic rock and metal, basically from Poison to Slayer. And it just seems like the music that you have made in the past is much more popular now. I mean, we get requests all the time for the Motley record, and you know, especially that, and the Scream record a lot too. And it's surprising to me. You know, my thought is always, well, why didn't you guys buy this when it was out? You know, why do you think it was that it just never took off?
Well, I mean, as far as the Scream goes, you know, it's weird. I think, to be honest with you, the Scream, we came out of the gun like all cylinders firing, you know, and we were getting a lot of great press and a lot of great reviews on the record. But, you know, it was really weird. I mean, like, we toured for probably 8 months. We went overseas, did some stuff over there, and it was like, you know, from the time the record came out, maybe 8 or 9 months. And then I got that call from Motley. And, you know, so it was a very short-lived thing. It was, you know, it was like, it was something where people were just kind of starting to get a hold of. Now, the Motley thing, I contribute that to a bunch of different factors. The music scene was changing. You know, I would honestly have to say probably 50 or 60 people at our record company got fired right after that record came out. So there was really nobody there to work the record. And then on top of that, you know, in hindsight, I can honestly say that I didn't really agree with it at the time. But now I can honestly say, I think, you know, some of the comments that were made by Nikki and Tommy and Mick in regards to Vince really kind of fractioned off a lot of the fans. You know, the fans kind of felt like, okay, we have to take sides here. We have to either go with the guys or we have to go with Vince. So it's weird. Now, I've gotten a lot of emails and emails and posts from people that said, well, I didn't really want to give that record a shot because I think Vince Neil's always been the guy, and I just never wanted to give that record a shot. But, that Motley record was a really cool record. It's a great record. You just shouldn't have called it Motley Crue.
Yeah.
So everybody's got their, you can play Monday Morning Quarterback all day long, who knows, but it is weird, like my manager, he likes to blow smoke every now and then, so he'll call me and he'll go, nah, dude, you were just ahead of the curve. You're just ahead of the curve. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. Well, I don't know how you want to look at it, but I just know that I'm ready to go again, and I want to get out, and it was really weird. I just did an acoustic set at this thing called Rock the Bayou last week, and it was really cool. I got, a really great reception with a couple of the new songs that I did, and, I did some Scream stuff and got a great reception, but we did an acoustic version. I worked up a pretty drastically different version of Hooligan's Holiday, and I did it acoustically, and it was just awesome. Everybody, immediately perked up and started singing along, and it was a really cool show, man. It was awesome. So it just renewed my faith that, I can go out there and play, and there are actually people that do want to come and see the Crabmeister. So,
well, John, I'm sure you're well aware that there's internet rumors running rampant that you've been selected to be the new singer for Velvet Revolver. What's the story there? Is there any truth to any of that, or did you even try out for it, or can you comment at all?
There is some truth. There was some contact made, and I was given some songs to go into the studio and do some vocals on and record on, but to be honest with you, as great as the music was, and I can honestly tell you, I've known Dave, the guitar player, was probably one of the first people I met when I moved to LA. My ex-wife used to be a hairdresser, and I used to work at the same salon as Dave's girlfriend at the time. So Dave and I go way back, and I've known Matt for probably 10 years. We're not the greatest of friends, but we're really cool to each other, and he's the guy. I know Duff actually wanted to produce the Scream record, and I've met Slash a bunch, and I love those guys. They're great players and all this stuff, but ultimately at the end of the day, I really, really thought about it long and hard, and at this point, I'm just going to say that because, my mind could change again. But at this point, I really don't think I want to do the Velvet Revolver thing because I would be, again, replacing an enigmatic singer like Scott Weiland. That's a hard thing to do, and it really, to be honest with you, it still irritates me to this day to go on these Motley sites and see the fans still, like 10 years or 12 years later, still bickering and fighting and arguing with one another over who's the better singer, John or Vince, John or Vince, John or Vince. And I'm like, it's not about being better. We're just different from one another. It's stupid. And as much as I think I would have a great time playing with those guys, I just don't want to get into that thing again where just constantly being compared to Scott Weiland or who's the nicer guy or who's the better guy or who's the, you know what I mean? It's just really, in all honesty, it's really a taxing thing when you're just, I'm not running for president. I'm a songwriter. I'm a singer. I'm not really doing anything but putting a smile on a few people's faces. It's just really crazy. It's really crazy that, some of these fans get that wound up about, this stuff. It's crazy. So I thought about it, and I just wrote the guys a letter about, 4 or 5 days ago. And I said, I really appreciate your offer, but I think at this point I'm going to have to decline, even whatever. I just really feel like I'd rather take the long way around and just do my own thing and be my own guy and not be compared to anybody or not have anybody compared to me, you know, and just do that. You know, I don't know. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So what you're
now,
saying is lesson
money,
learned from Motley Crue.
I'm kidding.
Is that what you're saying, John? Lesson learned from your Motley time?
No, it's not about a lesson learned. I did it. I had a great time with those guys, you know, but at the same time, you know, it was really, I mean, at one point, I even wrote a letter years ago. I wrote a letter because everybody just, hold on, I'm going to kiss my girlfriend. No, I'm okay, sweetie. I actually wrote a letter years ago, and I put it out in a public forum, like all the Motley sites and you know, all those like Blabbermouth and Metal Sludge and all that stuff. And I just said, you know what? I like Vince Neil. Stop saying, you know, that we're at war, because we're not. Tommy and Nikki are bros. They're friends of mine. You know, stuff happens sometimes when you're in a band. It's like being married. You know what I mean? And who knows why it didn't work out. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why I'm in the band, but let it go. And, you know, you know, maybe it was a lesson learned. I don't know, but I personally don't want to get into that thing again. You know, and to be honest with you, I love Scott Weiland. I think he's, you know, he's an amazing singer. He's an amazing frontman. You know, personally, I don't really want to get into the whole comparison thing again. I'd rather just go out and make my own mark, you know,
right,
instead of riding somebody else's coattails.
Sure. So with the new stuff, John, do you have a band put together? Or are you still working that out, or where are you at in this process?
I'm still working on it. I can't really, you know, my son is a drummer. So I'm seriously considering having my son play.
Well, John, I was going to ask you. There, you know, speaking of internet rumors again, what was your relationship with Stephen Piercy? Did you two get along pretty well?
I've always gotten along with Stephen.
Okay.
I met Stephen. Oddly enough, I met Stephen on their first tour, right when their record came out, and then I met him again right after I got the Motley gig. So I guess Ratt was still together. I'm not sure. I got the 92. I don't know if they were together then or not. But yeah, Stephen's a great guy, man. He's a character. He's definitely walks to his own drum beat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But him and I get along amazing.
Excellent.
And we've even talked about, you know. He said, man, I'd love to help you, you know, maybe finish some lyrics for one of your solo tunes, or, you know, would you help me write something for my solo record? And I'm like, yeah, sure, dude, no problem, anytime.
Sure.
So,
well, let me ask you something, John, and this is something, you know, it's old news, but I've always wanted the answer to it. How uncomfortable was it for you, if at all, to be in the same band as Jizzy Pearl when both of you shared a former love interest?
It was a little bit weird, you know, in the beginning. You know, and to be honest with you, like, you know, it was a very stupid thing because, you know, I heard one side of the story in the love interest, you know what I mean? And, you know, she was like, oh, well, you know, we're not this, or we're not, you know, and I just kind of basically took her word for everything. You know, and unfortunately, 90% of the stuff she told me was not exactly true. So, you know, and then it was funny, like, I wound up marrying the girl, and she ran up with some keyboard player, like, 4 months later, so Jizzy just sat there. He just sat there after I split up with her, and he just had this look. I go, all right, Dad, let me have it. And he just chuckled. He goes, nah, dude. He goes, you've been through enough. I don't have anything to say. He just said, thank you for doing me the favor, though. It was all good. Jizzy and I are fine.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, John, you got a website out there or something you want to promote, or where you're going to be and how people can find you, where you're in stores and all that good stuff?
Well, actually, if you want to, you can. I was just saying earlier, like, I tried to do a website in my own name, but apparently somebody owns it already. So I had to do john-corabi.net. And then I have a MySpace music page and a Facebook and all that stuff. You can find me on any of those things. But the .net site usually is run by my management company, and they put up anything that I'm doing, whether it be a clinic or a show or something with Ratt or whatever. Anything that I do musically is going to be on there. My songs will eventually be on there to download, and there is some merch, so like T-shirts and things like that on there. So, but if anybody wants to know what I'm doing, they can go there.
Hey, John, one last question real quick. Are we ever going to get the second Motley record that you recorded that never came out?
Well, unfortunately, it is Motley Recordings, so that'll have to be up to Motley Crue, you know what I mean? I had actually talked with Nicky when we were doing the Brides of Destruction record, and I told him I wouldn't mind going back into the studio at some point and finishing a lot of that stuff. So who knows? I'm on good terms with those guys, and I wouldn't have an issue about just quietly going into a studio and finishing it. So we'll see what happens.
Well, you could just give them to us or leak them to us on the internet. We'll help you out there. No problem.
Yeah, I could, but to be honest with you, I've probably moved because now, see, I don't even live in L.A. anymore. I live in Nashville.
Okay.
And I have somewhere in my possession, I have a box full of tapes, and for the life of me, I can't find them. I have no idea where they are. Actually, it was funny now when going back to the Velvet Revolver thing. I have a demo tape that we did with Duff Kagan. He wanted to produce the band, so we went into Church Studios in L.A. probably in 1990, 91, and it was funny because Duff, he was coming up with some parts and different things like that he wanted us to try. And at one point, he actually picked up the bass guitar. John had already kind of sat out for, and Duff explained everything to us. But I have a couple songs with Duff playing bass.
Nice. And,
I was just sitting there going, wow, that's, I'm sure there's some people that would love to hear that. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. But I can't. I couldn't even tell you where that box is.
Cool.
That's John Corabi, the organized individual.
Excellent, John. All right, John. Well, we appreciate you being the mystery guest here on the Classic Metal Show and calling in and giving us a few minutes of your time. And we'll look for you out on the road supporting Gibson guitars, right?
Yeah. I mean, are you guys in the Chicago area?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm doing 3 next week. For the life of me, I can't remember the third one, but one is in Aurora and the other one is in Arlington Heights or something.
Okay.
And there's a third one, but if you go to that .net site, it should be on there. But I'll be there the 9th, 10th, and 11th, and they're all guitar centers, so they're free to the public to come in. And it's not a concert. It's more about talking about how the guitars are built, and I joke around with people and tell jokes, and people ask me stories, and they ask me everything from, what guitars I used on a certain track to, like the Tommy and Pam video, whatever. So I'm there for all your questions.
Excellent. All right, well, go check out John over at his website at john-corabi.net, and if he's coming to a town or guitar center near you, or even with his new solo project, go out and support him and let him know that you heard him here on the Classic Metal Show. So, John, before we let you go, we need to ask you the traditional Classic Metal Show question.
Okay.
How has Lemmy from Motorhead influenced your career?
Well, it's funny that you say that because I have that other band that I do with Eric Singer and Bruce Kulick and Chuck Garrick well, you know, obviously you know who Eric Singer is and Bruce Kulick. Chuck is the bass player from Alice Cooper's band, and we do this thing where we go over to Europe a couple of times a year, and we actually do a couple of Motorhead songs in our set. So, you know, Lemmy's a legend, man. He's great, he's really one of the coolest guys I've met ever. You know what I mean? He's been very cool, and it just blew me away the first time I met him. Like, I met him at a tattoo convention. We were judging tattoo convention at the same time, and I go, "Hey, Lemmy, man, it's really nice to meet you. My name is." He's like, "I know who you are," you know, and he like totally knew who I was and knew about my records and all this other stuff. So I was just floored with that, you know. So, you know, he's a legend, man. There's no denying that guy's like the real deal, you know.
Sure. All right, John. Well, again, we appreciate you calling into the show, and if I can, I'm going to come out to one of your Guitar Center gigs next week, so that should be pretty cool. And
awesome.
I'll bring you a Classic Metal Show T-shirt. What size you wear?
It depends. If they're cut big, probably a small, but normally a medium.
All right, cool. All right, man. Well, we always let the artist pick a closing song here and finish out the interview and maybe tell us a story about it. So you got something you'd like us to play?
Well, actually, how about, I don't know, let me see, classic, how about the Wanton song by Led Zeppelin from Physical Graffiti?
Okay.
I just love that song, and I actually used to be in a Led Zeppelin tribute band back in Philadelphia, you know, I don't know, it was many, many moons ago, probably sometime around between the Stone Age and the Ice Age, and but that song is definitely one of my favorites. Excellent.
All right, John. Well, we appreciate you calling in, and go check out John at his website once again, john-corabi.net. And here it is. This is Led Zeppelin with the Wanton song, exclusively here
on your Classic Metal Show.
Thanks for checking out the best of the Classic Metal Show. You can tune into the Classic Metal Show live every Saturday night from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern, exclusively at www.theclassicmetalshow.com.